Welcome, everyone. This is Spiritual Journey, and my name is Colleen Jorgensen. And we're going to talk about the full moon that's set to arrive at the beginning of October, as the 6th and 7th. And we're going to talk about the impact that that's going to have on you individually or in Canada and the United States. So this full moon is going to arrive at 9:47 p.m. On October 6th, Mountain Standard Time. So that would be 8:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then as you jump across the ocean, of course, that's going to land in the early mornings of October 7th in those countries. So now this full moon is a little bit more charged because it is a super moon, and that happens when the moon is closer to the earth. And so we have a little bit more energy that is funneling into this. And this moon, because it lands in the at 14 degrees of Aries, we also have it more charged and a little bit more volatile than maybe some other full moons. So it could be one of those full moons where lots is happening. And, you have people acting a little weird or aggressive or spontaneously doing things that are out of character. And so lunacy or being a lunatic is one of those. We're still in the aftermath of the eclipse season. And so we're still feeling that kind of hangover effect. And we just had this solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. Now, what is interesting about this is that many Virgos or Pisces or Sagittariuses or Geminis could be really feeling the impact of some of these lunar events that are happening and eclipses because it's the South Node. So if you're one of those individuals, there's a real point of needing to release. And so, or something is letting go in your life, or you need to get rid of something. So please try and be patient with yourself. We have one more eclipse happening in 2026 in connection. It's hard to let go at 29 degrees. So just take a breath, sink yourself into calming the inner nervous system and relaxing. So this arrival of the full moon can redirect our attention out of the eclipse season, and it can refocus our awareness. And Aries is one of those signs that is really much says, what about me? It's about where do I stand in all of this? How do I fit in? What is my rights, my sovereignty, and what is my individuality? So, like all full moons, the light is going to shine on some of these ideologies. And they're not just on an individual, they're also on a specific country, like Canada. Who am I as a nation? Where do I stand in my own sovereignty and my own individuality as that nation? So it can really trigger things in the United States here as well, because it sort of is linked with the April 18th solar eclipse that crossed the United States at 19 degrees of Aries. So it's not too far away. So this full moon is going to have a big impact on the United States, I believe. and some of their own sovereignty issues and individuality issues coming in both directions from the country and the people living in the country. So this was called the Great Northern American Solar Eclipse. And this will tap into leadership issues. Who is at the helm? Who is governing? And who is really in control here? So at that time also there was heavy issues around fighting within Israel and Palestine and Russia and the Ukraine. Now, Aries is a feisty energy. It wants to get going. And it is the first sign of the zodiac, means that it's birthed, things are being planned, projects are getting up and running. Let's get going. It's courageous. It's eager to begin something. And Mars represents this energy. And therefore, some of the issues around some of this planning, projects, and new initiatives are really centered around activities related to Scorpio, because Mars is in Scorpio now. So Scorpio is linked to funding, contributions of funding, projects that are collaboratively put together, financial support, and taxes, grants coming from the government, interest rates on those types of issues, and what can we do together if we pool our money together? So Mars also is wars. And who is funding these wars? Who is funding these aggressive stances that are being initiated? And who is contributing, and what are they getting for their contribution? What is the exchange that's happening? And how does this really affect us as individuals and our momentum going forward, and or the people who are living in some of these war zones? So one of the things with Scorpio can be sanctions could be announced here, and or new contributions funneling to various war chests, such as the Ukraine or wherever the money is flowing. So Scorpio also is very much about secrets. We don't know who's doing these things half the time as individuals. If they're individual donations, if there's more than one person involved here. And we could really see with Scorpio here that there's some new investigations, some new revelations, some secrets that begin to emerge, some detective work happens. And Mars is very comfortable here. And we could really see some things triggered in relation to some of that, donations or funding or sanctions. Now, this has a real potential, even in a personal life, to start to expose some hidden secrets that have been buried really hard down deep. So if you're having some confusion about what is going on, like why is this happening, some of that could be exposed in your own life. So there's an element of espionage always with Scorpio, these spying, criminal activities. But in this case, because Aries is there, somebody could just spill the beans, and just let it all out. Human trafficking is also involved, the mafia, and even we could see some of Epstein's dirty little secrets emerging. So this affects taxes, interest rates, payoffs, those types of things as well. Now, Mars is at 165 degrees distance away from Chiron, and Chiron is in Aries. So this is kind of saying that some of this need to expose some of this stuff or some of the issues have really centered around somebody's hardship. Somebody got wounded, somebody got left out, and the details of some of this could also be exposed, or that somebody had to make a sacrifice in order for somebody else to emerge. And because Aries and this link to the April 19th solar eclipse, we could really maybe see how somebody obtained a position of power. This is very passionate energy that once the information is leaked, we can't unravel it. We can't not expose it. And we see the motivations behind it. And because of this link to Chiron, we could really get our burrs up and seek some sort of revenge, jealousy, obsession with a certain topic or a certain somebody. So watch your stalking, don't stalk people. And it could really get quite intense in the whole revelations of things. Now, Pluto rules Scorpio in the new system, and Pluto is in Aquarius, the sign of humanity. And this could really start to be expressed as riots, protests, people spilling out onto the streets. There could be an increase in crime. And Mars is just past his square to Pluto. And this signals that some of this actually could be triggered earlier than the full moon on October 6th, 7th, and actually be triggered around the time that I'm making this video on the 24th of September. We're pretty determined here. Pluto is a pretty determined energy of willpower and not releasing, not letting go. So I also want to talk a little bit about Pluto because Pluto is now moving into out of bounds as we move into October. And Pluto goes through this cycle, long periods of cycles. And when Pluto moves to the south, what happens is there's a power shift that takes place from the north to the south. And that really, with Pluto in Aquarius, starts to throw the power back into the hands of the people. And we're really going to start to see this over the course of the next 11 years. Now, Uranus rules Pluto. And Uranus is in Gemini. And Gemini is all about these trade wars, getting goods and services from one point to the next, information, learning. Our communities, just our local governments, are involved here. And so that falls into municipal law as well, or county law, wherever you live. And this triggers some of those needs and independences of the ratepayers of those municipalities or counties. And Uranus is trying to Pluto, so it does signal element of cooperation between some of those, and maybe some new laws or bylaws could be triggered. We're really determined here to push forward with the agenda and get things accomplished. Now, Mars is connecting with Neptune, and Neptune is at 00 degrees of the cardinal sign of Aries, and that is really a push through. It's extremely dynamic. It has an effect on the whole world, not just one region. So this initiates new awareness, and it also exposes things because it's newly in Aries. And it's a crisis point of, I used to believe this, but now I see that that wasn't correct. And we don't just fall into complacency here. We need to act on these new revelations. And so there's a shift in how the whole world is actually seeing the world and the realizations that are coming to our consciousness. So we move to start on a new path as things become aware. We want to move in a different direction, and we want to initiate new openings for ourselves. You know, if you've believed something for a long time, like in a cult or in something, and then to finally become aware of the actual goings on and how the system works, is kind of jarring that I need to get out of here and I need to get out of here right now. So Neptune also is ruling some of those big industries like the healthcare industry, the pharmaceutical industry, issues surrounding water and oceans, and the whole system, which is a vital part of our survival. It starts to affect our belief systems, some religious institutions, and some of those things like psychologies, counselings, therapeutic energy, also substance abuses, drugs, and we could see an influence on our mental well-being, mental health care. Now, the moon, of course, is in opposition, and the earth is standing right in between the moon and the sun. And we're trying to strike a balance always at a full moon and look at things objectively. And so this is me against you guys, or my country against the rest in alliances, cooperation, diplomacy, and these are my interests being recognized in that whole system. Now, Libra also rules the judicial system. So we could see issues surrounding the court system or people going to the court system for resolutions, and that imbalance always that happens in a dispute. So there's a concept of choosing here, and really reflecting on the views of other people and where they stand in relation to where you're standing. Now, Venus is in that nitpicking sign of Virgo. She doesn't like it here because she's very critical of her loved ones. So even though people are trying to support her, she views it as a negative, like you're not doing anything for me because you don't have the information that I need. So this is really going through the details in a very specific manner and picking out the things that are important, not just the overall scope of the issue at hand. So we're waiting till everything is perfect before we're acting, and we're gathering the information here. And the reason why is Mercury is also newly in Scorpio at this time. And Mercury is saying, okay, let's figure out the confusion. Let's dig deep because it's in conjunction with Neptune, not Mars. So I should look at my charts before I start those. So that creates an adjustment that needs to take place as we start to gather information and start to launch ourselves into some of these investigations or detective work. So there's a lot of trouble that could be brewing that exposes a lot of people that could actually cause some fights. So we really need to be cautious with this moon here. Um, I'm not going to bring in Jupiter because, well, Jupiter is ruled by this moon. And so family matters or issues within countries could very much be triggered here to a big extent. Now, I just want to talk about Canada and the United States just briefly. Canada, this eclipse is going to land in the house of alliances um, and our allies. And so we could be fully exposed to the motivations and the individual selfishness to some extent of our allies and what they're really up to. It's going to land on Neptune in the Canadian chart, which indicates the exposure of something and or being misled in some ways down some sort of rabbit hole of confusion. If an astrologer were counseling the government of Canada, they would make them aware that there is a deception at foot, and we really need to be cautiously aware of espionage, spying, and those types of things. And we're going to be surprised at where it comes from. Now, this is square to the sun, and of course, it's square to our ascendant in a wide orb of that I'm using. So this is really triggering our focus up, and are our leaders handling this, or our government, federal government, is it handling it very well? Or can the whole world see that that the emperor has no clothes? And so we really need to be cautious, or Canada could be exposing some investigations and revealing some breaches of confidentiality in their world. And the people become aware of it simply because of the opposition, that folks, anybody can see it, but nothing is really told to the people. So this can be quite challenging. And also in Canada, we could see a lot of, on a personal level, we could see a lot of conflicts within relationships, partnerships. We could see problems in breakups, and people going to the legal system for their grievances. Now, this full moon is going to land in the United States. I use July 4th of 1776 at 5:10 p.m. The reason I do that is all you guys down in the United States are like Sagittarius. I, I view you all as optimists that are really confident, boisterous, alive with energy, all you people of the United States. Freedom loving because the moon's in Aquarius. And you have such a linkage to Jupiter. Your Thanksgiving is always on Thursday. Like there's always this Jupiter legal system connected with you guys. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And Sagittarius is very group orientated, and they like to have fun. So So this full moon is going to land in your fourth house. This really brings attention to you guys, the land, the inner part of the United States, you yourself as a country, and the issues that are going on with you. It can also be a throwback to your conception and where you came from and the principles that you stood on. So the Constitution of the United States can be triggered here as well. And the whole foundation of who you are. The fourth house also brings some endings to things as well. And because I feel there's a link to that solar eclipse, issues around your governing leaders, whether it's a state leader, Donald Trump himself, or some other leadership, could see some balances that need to be triggered here, and that could involve the legal system. Because, and it's quite prominent, it's going to be quite out there in your face if there's court challenges and or legal issues surrounding some of these major fundamental backbone of your country. And so Mars is there. Mars in Scorpio is influencing the 12th house. So some of this activity is in the back rooms being decided, or things are being planned. Funding is being raised, and control is being initiated. Mars is also always about some sort of war that's happening or some sort of aggressive stance. I don't know if at this point you're going to see any of that, but there's definitely something brewing underneath and investigations going on that could be exposed here at this critical time. And really, because Neptune is about to cross that IC, or the foundation of who you are in the future, you're really like, who are we as a country? Where do we want to go as a country, and what do we stand for? And of course, you have to go back in time to figure that out. So I'm going to leave you with that. You can contact me anytime for a reading at area code 306-781-1300. You can text or call, and or you can email me at accsj@live.ca and find out what's happening in your future. So we will catch up with you again. Bye-bye.